Hello everybody, my name is Pooks, and what you just witnessed was the opening 30 seconds from Orange Bucket Acting Troupe's latest production, Back to the Rec Center, a Rec Room-style parody of the popular hit movie trilogy, Back to the Future. Now today I'm very grateful to be joined by some of the cast and crew of the Orange Bucket Acting Troupe. Today we're going to ask them some questions, talk about the overall production of Back to the Rec Center, and producing live-action plays in VR, and we're just going to have a good time and talk back and forth, so let's get started. Now, to begin, we're going to go to all of you. I'm going to ask you what roles you played in Orange Bucket Acting Troupe, if you played a part in the production itself, what roles you played, things like that. Just introduce yourself. So, we can start over with Fuzzy on the end.
I'm Princess Fuzzy. I played a role of Doc Brown in the Back to the Rec Center production. I also do a couple of other small roles within the play, but Doc Brown is my main role.
I'm I Kill Pigeons, or IKP, and I play the role of George McFly.
George McFly
And that's it! Just George McFly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I swear.
I swear.
I swear. I promise.
I'm Joker. I run the control board for the production, which means I control curtains up, curtains down, and the lights, and I also operate the timing of the special effects, all of which were built by Drummer Geek.
And I'm Drummer Geek, and in the play I play Biff, as well as a few small extras.
Now, Back to the Rec Center is actually Orange Bucket Acting Troupe's second production. You performed a production of The Princess Bride that you came up with 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that production. I know that was covered 2 years ago, but just wanted to talk more about how Orange Bucket Acting Troupe got started, and how you came up with the idea of producing live performances in virtual reality. So, if one of you wanted to start that off.
Well, honestly, Emily, and I'm sure she'll be able to talk about this more, she co-founded OBAT and was in on the ground level. Drummer and myself were in there from the start. We were original castings for The Princess Bride. And originally it was just kind of a fun idea. Hey, let's do a VR play. You know, the VR is new and exciting. Let's do a play. Cool. Okay. And it was way too ambitious for what Rec Room could provide at the time. And so it kind of went through, I don't want to say development hell, but that might be actually.
It was development
accurate.
hell.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why it started is because Rec Room had a performance hall. That was it. I'm pretty sure the idea was, there's a performance hall. We should put on a performance. And the original idea was every single scene was going to have its own room in there. I think the first version had 12 rooms.
It was 12 rooms. So every single one room for every single scene, and because we didn't have the ability to move, the props easily with gizmos and stuff, because they didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist yet. Yeah,
and it just, and we had how many cast and crew? We didn't have the ability to change costumes without going to our dorm room. So at that time,
the cast was over 20.
Yeah, it was like 23 people involved. It was a nightmare to organize. So as it went on, Rec Room kept adding all the UGC tools and making things better. Then we got the outfit slots. It was only 4 of them, but like that was a huge game changer. And then B-Boz posted a video that someone made. That showed how set changes could be made in Rec Room, and that changed everything.
and I went and rebuilt the entire show in the matter of about 2 weeks from 12 rooms to 3 rooms.
Yep.
But
Four,
unfortunately,
actually.
in that
the first one was 4.
4 room.
The first
That's
run
right, it
was 4.
4.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in that time, during all that, we lost. I think we lost over half of our original cast.
Yeah, we lost.
There was
we
only,
lost
I think,
our Humperdinck.
5 of us. We lost
Fezzik,
Humperdinck. We lost Fezzik, Inigo. We lost
grandfather, granddaughter.
Yeah,
well, grandson at the time. It became granddaughter when Justine got on board.
Yeah, but we lost pretty much everyone. The only people were still around were Pigeons, myself, Little Rayborn, and Emily, and M3. I think they were the only ones who were there from the start. We lost everyone else and had to recast near the end of it, and which was great. We ended up with a better cast.
Yeah,
overall.
hindsight's 2020. Like it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because we got amazing people. Like Fuzzy was one of them. She played Fezzik in The Princess Bride and just killed it.
Yeah.
That was It was development hell though. It's like it was well over a year from when we had the script done and initial sets built to us getting the stuff done. Which, to put that in perspective, this play has taken us a year to produce, but that year has included script writing and casting and set building and all of that. It's like there was a lot of other logistical things. Like that was the largest portion of the time.
With an unexpected pandemic thrown in the mix that delayed us for a while as well. And don't forget about
2 of our actors were stuck across.
Right.
That's right.
2 of our
them were stuck.
Eric and Jessme were stuck in Canada because they were visiting her parents when the pandemic hit and the U.S. shut down their borders and they couldn't get back.
And they didn't have their VR headsets.
They didn't have their VR. They were pancakes for months. And don't forget, you had to rebuild the theater. You had to build an entirely new theater because of LOD issues. But overall, like Back to the Rec Center was never in jeopardy. It was always like, well, this sucks. Okay, we'll delay it for a little bit. Whereas Princess Bride, for at least the first half of its production, was, I don't know if we're actually going to get this done. So when we got it done, when that first play was, I'll never forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
I can't believe we actually pulled that off because it was so close to being over, so many times. Yeah. When our Inigo quit, I remember that was the moment. That was the big turning point. We had already lost our Humperdinck. We had lost our Fezzik.
Yep.
And then Inigo quit, and we had just started getting everything else back. Inigo had been having problems. The actor was playing Inigo was having problems. His Vive had broken. It took like 11 weeks for them to fix it.
He was telling us every week, hey guys, sorry can't be there. Still waiting on my Vive to come back.
And keeping in touch with us. And then he quit. Like as soon as he gets it back, he quit.
He did one practice, and then right after that practice, he's like, "Sorry guys, I'm just not into this anymore."
Yeah. And at that point, I was so close to just saying, "Screw it, it's not happening. Let's just throw in the towel. This is not going to work." And right before I made that post, Pigeons posts out, "All right, screw it. We're just going to recast this and we're going to keep going." I'm like, "Well, okay then. I guess we'll do that then instead." And we did, and we went.
Wasn't it? That's what you.
It was.
It was.
We got a hold of Star and Fuzzy and Natty and
and that's when we
brought
all of those
I think that was it. That was those 3. There was just those 3 being added.
Boom, boom, boom.
We add those 3, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've got everyone. Let's go. And we were every rehearsal pretty much. We had almost the entire crew. I think it took us about another 3 months after that point of rehearsals with some last minute changes because we got new features and things like that. Oh, we want to put this in there, and there were some other little issues.
We lost the month of August because of vacations.
But
yeah, pretty much.
But we were ready end of October. We were ready to go, and we started the run of it in November, if I remember correctly.
Basically, the Princess Bride was about 2 minutes away from being like never happening, and OBAT would have never been a thing if he had beat me to posting a comment. Yeah.
That's a long-winded way of saying yes. It was development hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
We're very chatty.
I'm going to build off of one of the things that Pigeons mentioned. Pigeons mentioned LODs, so we're going to go right into the logistical side of building sets and stages and producing scripts. I want to talk about who did sets and who did scripts and what's the logistical challenges of creating production in VR. So, back over to you.
All of that is drummer's territory, so I'm going to let him take it away.
With the exception of script, which we'll give that back.
Oh, right, yeah, script. Sorry,
But-
I forgot about the script.
But when it comes to the set in theater logistics, there is so much that has to be taken into account with that. The first thing is we built a theater. I built a theater last year for the purpose of our future plays because we'd used the performance hall for our first ones, and that worked great, but it was really limiting. The size wasn't quite what we needed, and we couldn't build like secondary rooms easily, things like that. We had a lot of things about where we stored our sets. They were out in the middle of the void. If you fell through the floor, which happened due to collision issues, you went into the nothing. It was kind of a problem, so we decided, let's build our own theater that we can control all elements of. And I spent about 2 months doing that, and then in preparation for Quest and Quest 2, well, at this time it would have just been Quest. In preparation for that, they made massive LOD changes that made it to where if you were far enough away, you couldn't actually see, besides not being able to see the facial expressions, you couldn't even see hand movement anymore. You couldn't see some of the, if you were holding a prop, you couldn't see that. It created all kinds of problems, so we realized we couldn't use this, and this was a problem if you were sitting even in the front row of that theater. So we had to build an entirely new theater for that, and then along with all that, make all the sets in such a way to make sure that when people are very close, which we wanted everyone sitting as close as humanly possible to this stage, making sure that sight lines aren't blocked, so if something's happening far left or far right of stage, that no one is blocked from seeing that, those kind of things, while getting the audience really as close as we can get them to that. That was the LOD side of it. Outside of that, the other big concern is ink. We have a limited amount of ink. We don't want to have too many set transitions if we can help it, because when we have to, or room transitions, I should say. In Princess Bride, our first run, we had 4 transitions among 3 rooms. We had to change. We changed 3 times. There was 4 separate rooms that we were in, and then for the second run of it, we got that down to 3, which was a huge improvement. But still, it's jarring. We have to say, okay, well, everyone, well, now we're going to move everyone to another room, and please take your seats and start over again. In our current production, we've got that down to 2 changes, or down to a single change, 2 rooms, which is significantly better, but still not as great as we could be. So everything that we make has to be done from a category of, can we save as much ink as humanly possible with doing this? And then, of course, the circuitry and everything to support moving things in and out, props, all that.
Oh, speaking of props, in The Princess Bride, anything interactable we had to place ourselves. Whereas in Back to the Rec Center, it's different. You want to talk about that?
Animation Gizmo was a game changer as far as that's concerned. We used the Animation Gizmo to actually do prop placement on stage. It does all the work of clearing the props off and then puts them back, which allows us to reuse props on multiple sets, something we couldn't do before unless we manually put it on the set, which was always a nightmare, because then you have to, when the curtain comes down, you have to run out there, grab all the props, make sure they're all found and brought back and put back where they need to be, which could make the scene change last upwards of 30 to 45 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when people are sitting there waiting, when the curtain comes down, that's actually a really long wait time. With this, we hit a button to change our set, and when you hit that button, it actually runs an animation that pulls all the props off of the stage, stores them away, pulls the set off, pulls the next set up, and then runs another animation gizmo for that set that says, okay, well, here are the props for that set, and here's where they go on the set, and places them out so we can then run, and then for each time, which makes it to, and all this happens in less than 1 second. I think it's a total of 5 ticks to do the full swap.
Wow.
Which has made everything so much better because of that. It's like there's no concerns of like something getting left out or anything like that, as long as everything's operating correctly and we're not getting weird sync issues.
The only delays in between Back to the Rec Center scenes is the actors getting in place. And
we're the slow
hitting
point,
the ready
we're the
button.
bottleneck.
Yeah, we're the slow
point.
point.
Next week, Gizmo they can just shove the actors in place and throw their clothes on.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now that Drummer has explained some of the logistical behind sets, we're going to talk to I Kill Pigeons about script writing and just general how they come up with the script and some of the references they made, because I know there's a lot of Rec Room references within the script, so we'll talk about that. Take it away.
Okay, so as far as writing the script, I've never written a script before. Ever. I have written one now, but a year ago, I had never written a script before.
Well, it's probably worth mentioning that you do Dungeon Master for D&D games.
That's true.
Counts. It's not the same
that's
thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not fully scripted, but you are used to coming up with narrative, essentially.
Fair enough. Yes. Okay. I have done narratives. I have been a D&D Dungeon Master for what has it been, 3 years for you guys?
Yeah.
So a little bit of experience there. Fortunately, I did have a baseline to work with, which is Back to the Future, and so I must have watched the movie Back to the Future, the first one, I don't know, 30 times, give or take,
Wow.
when writing the script. And credit to the movie, by the way, side note, I never got tired of it. Every watch gets better. But I started with, let me go through the movie, adapt it to Rec Room. We can talk about this in a minute, but Drummer and I came up with a concept for this one. And so I wrote out like a, I don't know, TLDR story, if you will, like a short story about
a synopsis.
Synopsis. But it was still like 3 pages long, because I had to cover the whole movie or the whole play, and I did that twice. Because one was, what if Marty is actually going back and trying to get his parents together, and they met in a Rec Room? And then the second one is the one we went with.
Moving on.
Is the one we
Keep
went
rolling.
with that you guys will see. Which is a much more Rec Room focused story, which is what Drummer and I had intended in the first place. And I presented both of those to the rest of my OBAT peoples. And let them, because I was conflicted, which one do you like more? And overwhelmingly, like unanimously, it was, let's go with the heavy Rec Room history. And then from there, it was go through every scene, transcript every line that's going on in every scene. How can I adapt that line to Rec Room? What needs to be cut? There was a lot of stuff that I had to cut out. There was some great stuff that I loved that had to be cut out for time or because it didn't really work out. It was just a process. But I did have the baseline of the movie to work with, which helped out. Yeah. And then Drummer helped out a lot. Actually, all of them helped out a lot. We have a channel in our Discord that is script discussion. And so when I have an issue, hey guys, here's what I'm struggling with, help me out. And they would chime in and really help me out. And so the script is what it is because of everyone in OBAT chiming in and helping out. Really, it is. That's why it's so great. And as far as the references are Rec Room history, honestly. Like,
Yep.
Mama Monkey literally did. Mama Monkey, who plays Lorraine, Lorraine's character was based on Mama Monkey, who did go attend a minigame called Coach's Dinner Party, which was put on by created by a person named Jack Merlin, which is who George is loosely based on. Now, Jack Merlin is
not by character.
He's not a
but just
loser
it's
George.
Literally, it's not the character that it's not that the character's based on it. It was just the idea that we had.
The idea
was
that
that these two.
Right.
Yeah,
that was
these
his role in
two
history.
people
Right.
met up and started this thing that resulted in these minigame Monday videos being made, and we decided that'll be George and Lorraine. That'll be who started this. Is like it was that was going to be our analog for that. So while character-wise, Lorraine really is nothing like Mama Monkey, and George is nothing like Jack
George
Merlin.
Is nothing like Jack Merlin.
But in actual Rec Room history, the events of Coach's dinner party forming minigame Monday videos, that is the literal history that
did happen.
This is based around.
Yeah.
And there's other characters that I don't want to reveal yet that are like cameos and spoofs of what happened in the movie Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
But it actually, like, those characters did exist in Rec Room's history as well. And so we're like, wow, this is a perfect parallel. Let's put that character in there and have them say that line instead. And there's also a little bit of creative license when talking about a certain character that runs a campground.
We make up some Rec Room history as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's actual Rec Room community history, and then there's, shadows of lore from Rec Room original activity.
Ooh, okay.
We're mixing both of those in.
And also
things that happen in both of those.
There's a one or two Princess Bride Easter eggs for the observant viewer.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So longtime fans can catch some Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Regarding history, it's worth mentioning for a little bit of context, probably. The entire cast and crew, basically with myself as the only exception, are old schoolers of Rec Room. I think because I started playing late 2018, and
the
at least
rest
senior
of us
before me
started either in early 2017 or 2016.
When was the PSVR beta?
November 2017.
Yeah,
that Star would be the latest
so
join.
Star was other.
Yeah, because he was
from me.
Joker.
Is like next to Joker. Yep. Well, Joker's also the newest member of the crew as well. Anyways, like this is his first production.
So, but as for all the writing and the history goes, that's mostly just direct memory of the cast.
Right.
And as someone who played in that time as well, I will say that during the dress rehearsal, you guys doing the writing, it did capture so many of the specific moments in Rec Room history perfectly. Personally, I loved all of the references. Well, moving on.
We captured them in a way. I was just gonna say that hopefully we captured them in a way that is also accessible to those that weren't here in 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
We tried to not make it to where like, see, nudge. Remember that? That's what makes us funny is because of this thing.
Right.
It's
we
more
don't want to. We didn't want to gatekeep the jokes, right? We wanted.
Yeah.
Want them to be understandable.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, just now that we've discussed the logistics, just want to talk about what are some of your favorite memories or moments from the production, writing, things like that. Just talk about what was fun while rehearsing back to the rec center. So, somebody wants to start that off? Any memorable moments?
Joker, why don't you? You were there for every single one of them.
I was, being on the control board,
watching all of us,
and sitting in third person watching the hilarity.
Yep.
I mean, so there were some fun moments, most of them goof ups, but I'll let you guys remember those ones. The ones I'd thought of actually were more intended things. For example, like the first one that came to my mind was actually the first time we got to see the intro that drummer created, and this is right the first moment of the play.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to spoil it too hard, but there's music and events timed to music, and I had no idea drummer had been working on this, But, we come into practice, and he's like, guys, I finished this up. Let's all watch this thing. And over the course of, the practice that night, as new people came in and had been doing other things, he's like, okay, you haven't seen this yet. We watched that, 6 times during that practice. But I remember having the feeling that this is perfect for what this is, because this is the first impression the audience is going to have of the play. And as first impressions go, it was just really hits the nail on the head. It's it's exciting. It's got music. It's got fun. You just immediately head first into the fun. And I just thought it was really fitting, and it made me. It gave me a real boost of optimism for how everything was going. Not that I needed it, but it was a good moment for me. Beyond that, there was I remember distinctly one practice we had. I don't remember when it was, but there was kind of a lull for a while where we were waiting on some things and we weren't doing practices. We started practices, and then it was a couple of months of just kind of a lot of muddling, a lot of stopping mid-scenes to say, oh, let's discuss this. And then just kind of all at once, nothing in particular happened, but all at once there was a practice where we just got through a lot pretty quickly, and it was people weren't trying to focus. It just, one night the practice really just felt like it was flowing, and I had the feeling oh wow, this is really, I had the feeling wow, this is really getting rolling now. Yeah. Well, that makes it sound like I had any doubt that it would work, but I hadn't before, because I wasn't part of the Princess Bride. I hadn't experienced before the feeling of really picking up momentum, and I remember that moment as oh, this has momentum.
It's a great feeling, right? It catches you off guard all of a sudden, wow, it felt so far away, but now it's right here. We're so close. Let's just finish this. Yeah.
I felt that the biggest whenever we decided is we had gotten through Act 2. Act 2 was finally done. That was one of the biggest difficulties, was that we made something that we've decided that future productions we're not going to make the mistake of, is have sets built and everything ready to go before we even start rehearsals. This time we had actually started rehearsals before we even had before the sets were done. And I was working on Act 2 while we were trying to get things going, so we didn't have Act 2 ready.
Well, and then we had to completely rebuild the sets when the theater had to be rebuilt.
But we get through Act 2. We get through we did 2 rehearsals where we got through Act 1 and Act 2. And I remember this was only a few weeks ago, because it was literally 4 weeks ago, I think total. I just said, okay, we're out next week. About a month and a half,
I think.
Yeah, we said we're out the following week. We knew we were going to be out. There. It's okay, dress rehearsal the week after that. We're doing the dress rehearsal.
It was about 4 weeks ago. You're right.
And that was for us when we did Princess Bride. The dress rehearsal was the precursor. If that went well, we'd schedule our first shows. That was the idea. We do our dev shows and all that. And I just decided yep, we're doing dress rehearsal. Boom, it's happening. Let's go. Let's get this going. It's we're ready to go. And it was that moment of and then all of a sudden everyone's focus was really laser focused. It was really, locked in, and we had everything ready to go. The rooms were ready. Everyone had their costumes perfect. Everyone showed up on time, and we blew through the dress rehearsal like it was nothing. It was we had people show up. We went through that like it was no problem at all. And then we're able to schedule our first show for the devs the very next week, which was amazing. That was
yeah.
And it was that feeling of there's that feeling of when you're doing this, to echo kind of Joker's sentiment, you never know. It's you feel like you can do it. Especially for us, we did Princess Bride. We knew we could do it. We had prior experience. We've done this. We can do it. But Princess Bride, in a lot of ways, felt like a fluke. And then all of a sudden we did it, and it was amazing. And then when we did the dress rehearsal and scheduled that show, it was oh my God, we're doing it again. It's actually happening again. This last year of work is actually going to pay off again. That was probably my favorite moment in the whole production process, is when that happened.
Yeah, agreed. It's weird because for a little while there until you put your foot down and you're all right, we got next week off, dress rehearsal, and you remember I talked to him in private. I was like, "Are you sure we're ready for this?" And drummer looks at me and goes, "We'll be ready because we have to be ready." And
Yeah, in the back of my mind,
that's
I'm like,
it,
not
right
even
there.
remotely close to sure.
When
but-
there's a deadline, we'll be ready. And we had been running the treadmill for a little while, and like it's
Yeah, because you had your milestone of you like, we want to get 2 full
Right.
practices in where we go through
Right.
all of Act 1 and all of Act 2 without stopping, and it's right. Once we've done that twice in a row, we'll be ready to do the dress rehearsal.
right.
And
Yeah.
that was kind of slowing
It was
us
like
down
we
because
would
kept-
have one, and then next
Yeah.
week there'd be a little bit of a fuck up,
someone
and
couldn't
then
come or someone would be
right,
late or mess
and it
something
was
up.
just
Yeah.
it was just delay. Yes, exactly, and it kept delaying
I
us.
just had
And
to
I,
just jump in.
and it, yeah, exactly.
Drummer
And as
just
soon
said,
as
"Right,
drummer
let's do it."
put his foot down, I'm like, you know what, he's right. Let's just, because we can run the treadmill for another year to fix up every tiny little mistake that most of the audience isn't even going to notice, or we can just do the play. And like after the first dev show, Alkmaar said something that makes sense about live plays. Is there's so much fun versus us recording a video about it and having everything perfect, because there is those little discrepancies. There's those little mistakes, you know, the adjustments,
means to be
ad-libbing
live,
that has
isn't it?
to happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what makes it fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah.
Now, for goofs, we've had some hilarious moments in there. We had any improv interaction that we had between Marty and Doc, or Doc and Healthy Moose, was phenomenal.
I feel like Fuzzy has a lot to talk about that.
So much of Doc came from improv stuff as well. Like you had my lines, and they were
Yep.
pretty accurate to the movie, and they fit in well with the Rec Room stuff. But then as we'd practice them, I would just see opportunities, see things I could change, things that I liked better, and I'd do them. And then the cast would crack up, or it would go well, and you'd say, okay, let's change that in the
Well, we
script.
can't
So a lot
expect
of-
you not to make a terrible pun or a sarcastic
Yeah.
joke, right?
Yeah, so I mean, a
We
lot
ended up
of
with a very
how
different
Doc has
Doc.
ended up as being
Yeah, sarcastic
through
Doc
trial
is
and error
best
that
Doc.
way.
I'm just putting it out there right now.
Sassy Doc
Fight
is
for
best.
sarcastic Doc.
Yeah.
Or sassy Doc, yeah.
And then
But I mean, in terms
the
of
times
actual
we've
goods,
had.
the bucket.
Good.
Oh,
Yes, the bucket was the best
So-
one.
Yes, explain the
Yeah.
bucket. I've heard about this.
So there's a section in the play where you put a bucket on someone's head. I mean, that's not exactly a spoiler. That's standard, well-known
Right.
record history. People put buckets on other people's heads. It's a joke.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
used a couple of different times in the play. But the way that we were doing the whole bucket thing in terms of props, I mean,
We
whether
used
things
a
could be
maker
sticky
pen
and stuff,
bucket,
We had
not.
Yeah.
we were using a maker pen
Not the
bucket
real
rather than the
bucket.
actual bucket. If you use the real bucket, it
And
works
the way
fine,
that
but
it
something about
operated
maker pen
fluctuated
collisions happen.
with updates and stuff as well, didn't it? Like sometimes it
Yeah,
worked
we had
fine, and then
update-
an update would come out and it totally broke it.
When we started, they were fine. It's like you could put the maker pen bucket on someone's head. The only thing that would happen is it could possibly shift sideways, or the bucket itself might have issues. It might look weird on the head if you just leave it sitting. So that was, the problem. But all of a sudden, something changed with how physical props interacted. Not environment, mind you, physical props. And we put the first rehearsal when this happens, Doc goes to put the bucket on Marty's head, which is what's supposed to happen for this one element. And Marty goes flying through the wall. Just gone.
He's just
out of
Boom,
nowhere.
you put the bucket on his
And
head,
we're like-
off he goes.
And with the bucket too, it's like once Doc let go of the bucket, that was what did it, and it was like this weird
Boom,
you're
warp
sucked
speed
to the
out of the
environment, and he was gone with the bucket. We were like,
Oh.
where did he go? Where's the bucket? It's just gone, and I think that derailed almost that entire rehearsal because we just kept doing that
just kept
from
doing
that
it.
point
Yeah.
forward because it was so funny.
You just go, because it was the pushback feature. Like if you put your head inside, try to put your head inside solid geometry these days, it gives you the vignette and it pushes you back away from the
Yeah.
geometry. So we was putting solid geometry on someone's head, and it was sticky. It would stick on them, but it would trigger that pushback.
Oh, that's
but
right.
because it was stuck to them, they
Right.
wouldn't get away from it. So we would just push them, and they just go. They just keep
Yeah.
going
Until they got it off of their head.
So you put it on people, and they just zoom off into the distance like
Yeah.
they'd be gone.
Because yeah, that's right. I remember now. 'Cause, yeah, this is different from most rec roomers are familiar with. Like if you put a piece of environmental geometry on somebody, they'll just teleport. They'll just blink and be 50 meters in some direction. But this was different because it was sticky. It would stick on you and then push you, and because of the way sort of physics updates happen, it's like stick, push, stick, push, stick, push. And depending on how far into you that thing was, it would push you faster. So there were moments, it wasn't just like blink and gone, haha, that's funny. It was really, you could see Eric going just like,
Yeah.
You
you could watch
could
the
slide
movement,
someone slowly across the room. They just sort of like start going. But
Yeah.
most of the time you put it on, they just boom, out of there real quick.
Yeah.
There was those moments, and of course, the time when we gave Joker too much power. So part of the sets, some of the sets have cases where people they either leave to go to their dorm or they get vote kicked or something like that. We have these moments in there, so we use a player respawn, and we have a thing backstage where we'll press a button backstage, a trigger volume that records our player ID for a set action that Joker can trigger on that set to say okay, and on this mark hit this button and they'll respawn off stage. This works great. It's wonderful. Until Joker had this power, and it is like, okay, yeah, that's that way, right?
He just kept using it over and over.
And it's like, when we're trying to talk, like,
Stage,
after...
start talking about something, and boom, off he goes. Disappears.
Yeah, we're not even doing rehearsals.
And
We're
come
just
back
chatting.
and
Boom,
boom,
there goes drummer.
it's
and there's Joker just cackling like an evil scientist or a mad scientist.
there's a lot of
Great.
downtime. I gotta entertain myself.
That's wonderful.
I gotta
It's the little
I gotta
moments.
say, I think my favorite scene was, and I can't really go into detail, but it involved the buckets, and Lorraine is talking to Marty. And in the movie, Doc Brown is back in the background, like face palming and like freaking out. Right?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And spoiler:
So one of the props,
the
one of the props from
bucket of
Princess Bride.
despair is
Yeah.
in
Makes its
this
return.
one.
Oh,
And so Doc Brown, a Fuzzy, decided to go off script. It's now part of the script.
It's on script now.
It's on script now. But at that time, Fuzzy was supposed to be back there, like face palming, like freaking out behind Lorraine as she's saying, of course, George didn't invite me to the dinner party. And Fuzzy picks up the bucket of despair and is about to bucket Lorraine. And Marty just picks up on it. Eric picked up on it perfectly. And he's just like, no, while he's talking. It was just amazing. And it was an instant, okay, you guys have to keep that in the script. Or in the play. That's staying.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
One last bucket memory worth mentioning too. I will never forget is one of the first rehearsals. The first time the bucket gets put on the head before the bug was introduced was Marty, Eric who plays Marty, was able to develop while we were in there a way to affect his voice to sound like he had a bucket on his head. Like
He was
just
holding
like
his
how
lips
does this
closed.
sound?
He was holding his
Yeah,
lips
he was holding his
closed.
lips.
Yeah.
So he can do it, but it sounds like there's a bucket over his head.
good.
So all of a
Yes.
sudden for the plays, like that was just like an immediate thing. He could
Yep.
imitate talking while having a bucket on his head, which was perfect for that
And
scene.
he was able to do that easily because he was a screen mode player stuck in Canada at the time. When it was like, all right, Eric, that's gonna stay. There was a moment where, like, I remember this. Vividly. He's like, okay, I'll try, but I'm holding my lips closed. I don't know how I'll do that in VR. It's like, dude, you have to try. You have to find a way.
And he has, and it's worked out really
He pulls
well.
it off. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
oh.
like it's so
awesome.
convincing. Like you see it and you think, oh, there's some kind of
Yeah.
filter being applied
His
here.
voice
because
is
the button's being
muffled.
put on his head, it's muffling his voice.
Yeah.
But he's just
Yeah.
acting it. Like
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Oh,
very
he does
impressed
such a
with how he
good
does
job
that.
with that. He really does.
Well, okay. We're now going to move on to a segment that I have pre-recorded along with some other Orange Bucket acting troupe members who couldn't make it to this recording session, so we're going to go say hello to them. I am now joined with Star Centurion and Emily Waffles-Yeh, two actors from Back to the Rec Center who couldn't be with us in the previous recording, so I'm going to throw things over to them and ask them who they are and what roles they played in Back to the Rec Center.
Hey, I'm Star, laser tag player, rec room support. In Back to the Future, I did a lot of roles, like Ranger Roy. Ranger Roy makes it in this one. I know. Keep your applause down. I know. And then other classic Back to the Future roles like Marvin, and other secret ones that I don't want to talk about because you should go watch the play.
Yep.
Take it away.
Hi. Yes, hello. I'm Emily Waffles-Yeh. I play Healthy Moose, which is an extremely fun character to play.
Best character.
I play myself. Thank you. She's so great. I play myself multiple times in multiple situations. Past me and present me, and some secret characters that I can't talk about because it's a surprise. And I'm one of the lumberjacks, and so is Star, but he forgot to mention. So.
Oh, I did have a question. What is it like to play such an esteemed role as Emily Waffles-Yeh? What's that like?
She's a nerd.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, in the segment with your other associates, I did ask them to talk about some of their favorite moments and the most memorable moments they have from the planning and the rehearsal of Back to the Rec Center. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Maybe tell us your favorite moment or the most fun you had during a rehearsal or something like that. So I'm going to throw that over to you.
Alright, I'm going to say mine before I forget them. Because
Okay, go for it.
for some reason, there was a point when Eric and Marty put the bucket on his head. I had the suggestion to tell him to put his hand over his mouth like this. So when we first discovered that, no one in shows that I've seen yet has laughed at that yet, but we all were dying when he tried it for the first time.
Yeah,
So
the other
he put
group
his
did
hand over
mention
his mouth.
this, yes.
We all started dying, and I was just like, this is a great addition. But my favorite moment actually was during rehearsal. It was a scene with Mama Monkey, Healthy Moose, and so it was Lorraine, Healthy Moose, and Marty. And Lorraine crashed. Mama Monkey crashed. It was where she was telling him just like, oh, you must be really good at Quest. And it's just the rec center. She crashed, and I was just like, let's have some fun. It's Healthy Moose. So I started going up to Eric. I'm just like, you told me that all these was like was Quest. Can you take me there? Let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on. And he's sitting there
that's
visibly uncomfortable. Like, he's just like, I'm just like, come on. I want to go so bad. Please take me. It was so funny. And then we just started dying.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's always those moments with
live?
the improv. No, I'm dead.
That's
Oh,
very
okay.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Alright, your turn.
I don't know. All the practices sort of blurred together. I'm sorry. I mean, anytime one of us would mess up, it's always funny. You know, we kind of keep rolling with it in practice. Like, I think we used to stop a lot. We used to just, hey, stop. Let's take it from the top. But as we kind of, we did Princess Bride, and that happened a lot. And then with Back to the Future, it was just, you know, you mess up, just keep going, improv something. It's always funny.
Yeah.
And it's always Fuzzy that improvs the most. And she's the
Yeah,
one who
Princess Fuzzy.
added so many lines just by improv, and also killing us all with, like, laughter.
Yeah, we're all dead. All of us in the crew dead. Just drop. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful memories. I would like to take this time now to thank Sergeant Turn and Emily Waffles-Yeh for doing this little segment of the interview. We are now going to head back to the other clip and talk a little bit more to them. So, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I would like to thank them for recording that little segment. It's a shame they couldn't be here for this recording session. Well, I think that just about wraps up the interview for today. Just wanted to close. I wanted to ask all of you, are there any future plans for Orange Bucket Acting Troupe? Are you going to go forward and keep doing what you're doing?
Yes, we do plan to do more full-length plays, but we also want to do a lot of some other stuff. Drummer, would you care to?
Yeah, sure.
explain?
So I'll address both those. The next full-length play we're planning, I'm writing the script for, and it's going to be the first play that we do that is not a Rec Room parody. It's another comedy. We're going to do a version of Clue, a theater-adapted version of Clue. Now, certain things have changed for Rec Room, but that's the plan there of that movie. And then on top of that, we're wanting to grow the Orange Bucket Acting Troupe larger than what we currently have. Our current crew really has only grown by 2 people since the last play was completed. So we want to really start bringing more people in. So we're going to do some improv shows where we allow members of our Discord that want to get their feet wet at this come in and effectively try out for doing bigger stuff and get an idea for regulars and something that we can put on more rarely, so it's not a year in between our big events, for our plays, because that's about how long it usually is. When we get done, it's a year and a half to or more even. So that's our next. That's where the future of it's going right now.
Okay. So, at the recording time of this interview, you are starting to do live shows soon, just so we can tell everybody who's watching if this gets edited in time. When do you plan on doing your live shows so people can come see Back to the Rec Center? Do you have that information?
Yes, we do. The very first show.
Technically, we have been doing live shows. They've just been private shows for the devs, and then we're doing friends.
But we've got the public shows. Shows scheduled.
First public show will be the week after Thanksgiving. Am I not?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
The first Thursday in December.
Yep.
If this recording is finished by the time, all the dates will be in the description below.
So yeah. So the 3rd of December. And
then the 2 following Thursdays after that as well.
And,
probably the best thing to add is we have a Discord server, and if people want information,
that link will also be
Yes.
in the description below.
Yeah.
And we are going to post the RecNet event invite link in our Discord server first for a period of time before posting it on Reddit and in the Rec Room Discord. Point being, we want the people that are in our Discord server and supporting OBAT to have first chance at seeing the shows.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I would like to...
Sorry, I was going to say, hopefully we can do many shows to get as many people to watch as possible.
Yeah.
And a change from The Princess Bride is we are going to allow streaming and recording stream shows so that if people can't make them, maybe they can watch them on Twitch or YouTube.
We plan to live stream every public show for that reason.
That's wonderful. Great.
Because we can only fit about 20 people in the room. So it's like it's such a limited audience type thing, and we're making sure. One thing we're asking is that only people with VR sign up to attend, because watching it in screens is the same as watching it on the live stream.
Yeah.
So we'd rather people with VR actually be able to be in the room.
We do plan on restricting the live plays to VR, with the exception of like VIPs. But
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to extend a huge thank you to the Orange Bucket Acting Troupe for allowing me to have this interview. All the relevant information about Orange Bucket Acting Troupe, Discord links, times for live shows, check the description below. Make sure to check them out, join their Discord, support them. What they're doing is wonderful. I'd like to thank all of you for coming again.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Again, my name is Pooks. They're Orange Bucket Acting Troupe. And I'll see you all in another video. Thank you. Bye.
Curious thing. Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Changing a heart to a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. Tougher than diamonds, rich like cream, stronger and harder.